and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to a another session of inspiring conversations. And boy, oh boy, I have a royal. I like he's royal. My guest is royal. He's a like I'm starstruck. So wait. But let us remind, I will remind you why I'm doing this. It's all about creating conversations that really matter. We are diving into ways to connect deeply, break down barriers, and build moments that inspire trust and growth. Whether it is with your team, at work, or in your everyday chats, we will bring more positivity, realness, and impact into every conversation. And that said, I my guest today is so inspiring, and he has written a book, a legacy, and it's called Any Dumb Ass Can Do It. And my guest today is Garry Ridge. And Gary, welcome, welcome.
G'day. It's great to be with you. Thank you for inviting me along today.
Well, thank you for accepting to be a guest because, and I loved it. We were talking prior, and I said good day, but you say it a lot better than me.
Yeah. Well, you're not too bad. You're okay.
Oh, thank you, thank you. But tell me, how is it that you have what lived in the U.S. for not 100
nearly
years, but
nearly 30 years. Yeah, I was born in Australia, of course, and I moved. I had 35 years with WD-40 Company. 25 years of those I was CEO and then chairman of the board. And I originally started with WD-40 in Australia in 1987. And in 1994, they invited me to move to the US. I told my mates in Australia that I'd be back in 5 years, but
yeah.
but that didn't happen, obviously. And then in 1997, I was given the honor and privilege to lead the company, and I did that for 25 years. So I've been here nearly 30 years now. But I was in Australia about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so I was there visiting my daughter and grandkids and family, and fortunately get back there about once a year.
So that is why you have not thrown away your accent. So you're still
Well,
a Aussie.
yeah, well, that's debatable. My friends in Australia tell me that I've lost some of my accent, but yeah, I try not to. But it's interesting. You pick up words that are common in the country you live in, like in the U.S., garbage is trash. So you start using the words that people here will recognize.
Yeah. Isn't it? Isn't it? I saw something. Emily Stone. She is married to an John Krasinski, the American actor, and their
Uh-huh.
kids, when they are in England, they say water, but in America they say water. So
Yeah, yeah.
and and she was talking about how it annoys her because water is like it's not posh enough, I think. But
Well, it's interesting you should say that because both of my children went to school here. They were 11 and 13 when we moved here. And when they're in the company of Australians, they have an Australian accent. And when they're in the company of people in the US, they have a American accent. And I keep saying, hey, you turn this thing on and off,
yeah,
So,
but they are more adaptable, I think, than us because
yeah, because
they
we're
can
old.
just yes, yeah, well,
Because
yeah,
we're
our
old.
brain
We're
is
old.
yeah, okay. Oh, tell it like it is, Gary. But as I mentioned, thank you very much for being a guest on my show, and you are so inspiring because little like just that you moved from Australia and then you took the as like you were appointed CEO of WD-40 and how you could implement the strategy in WD-40 and with the personnel and everything. That is just quite remarkable because you must like when you were hired, when you were talking, like they must have hired you because you had the vision and clarity of what you wanted. So when you talk to them, how did they perceive it? Were they just like, "Oh, are we doing the biggest mistake in our lives?"
Well, I think the reason that WD-40 originally asked me to join them was, back in the mid 80s, the brand was famous in the US and it had sprinkles around the world. And the leadership then were really curious about taking the blue and yellow can with the little red top to the world. So
Yeah.
they decided to start their global expansion, and so I was brought on board to start the expansion program in the Asia Pacific region. So although I was based in Sydney, I spent a lot of time in all of the Asian countries in those first years: China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Thailand, Malaysia, you name them all. Um, so and then in 1997 or 1994, 7 years later, I was having a conversation with the then CEO, and I said, "Is there anything else you'd like me to do?" And he said, "Funny you should ask. Why don't you move over here and help me take the brand globally in Europe and Latin America as well?" So, well, why not? So, I moved over, and then I spent a lot of the next 2.5 years basically back and forth to Europe. We had a subsidiary that we'd opened in the UK, and we needed to, you know, get that up and going. And then we were opening our offices throughout continental Europe. So I think the reason I was brought on board was to help with the global expansion program. And when I left the company, I'm proud to say, not necessarily because of my efforts, but because of all of the wonderful people that were in our culture. The blue and yellow can with a little red top is now in 176 countries around the world, and 65, 70% of the revenue is outside of the United States. And we grew the company. It's a public company on the NASDAQ stock exchange. We grew the value of the company tenfold, from about 300 million to over $3 billion in that period of time. So it was a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful experience. But, as you know, and you've read the book, I really believe that, albeit it's a wonderful product, it was really all about the people and the culture. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have a place where people go to work every day, they make a contribution to something bigger than themselves, they learn something new, they're protected and they're set free by a compelling set of values, and they go home happy, you're not going to maximize the outcome. And the other reason why that's important is I believe business has a responsibility today more than ever to make a positive difference in the world. And happy people create happy families create happy communities, and happy communities create a happy world. And I think anybody will argue with me, a little happier world now, it'd be okay.
Uh, but how is it? Because you mentioned family. So okay, you were in Australia and you have your young kids. I gather that they were also when you were traveling back and forth to the Asian countries and stuff. And then when you got home and said, "Oh, wifey, they are asking me to go to America." So what was because you have to have when you have a significant other, you have to say, what do you say? Are you
Well, I think the
from?
great thing was that at that time, the family had traveled over to the US a few times with me. We'd actually done a fair bit of traveling, so it wasn't a new thing,
Oh,
and it
okay,
was
yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
opportunity. And I'm very lucky that they were very supportive of that. So
Yeah, so
it was,
so it was not like a, oh my God, that is crazy.
yeah. Well, it maybe was, but they knew we were going to be crazy, so it was okay.
Yeah, but that is also like, but when because I know because everything you say about the staff members and happy family and like community and stuff, America is not as everybody else or everywhere else. Like we watch America and think, how did they become like this? Why is it that like the minimum wage here and like it's totally opposite from everywhere else. Or is it the same? Like, were the surroundings in America and Australia same, similar?
Well, the cultures were somewhat similar, but I would say that every country is different. You know,
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to, in my time, be or have worked in 76 different countries around the world, and every one of them is different, different degrees of difference, but they're all different. They all have their heritage that has played into who they are and their culture. They all have look at the wonderful country you live in. And, my wife and I had a wonderful time there a couple of years ago, and the history and, the place of the first parliament in the world. And,
Uh,
but it's freezing cold. Why do you want to be there?
yeah. Well, you have to
It's,
live somewhere.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I
Yes.
mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So, okay, now we have to go in because you're as Anton, like at the picture, you have your name, Garry Ridge, and then you say that you are the dean of dumbassery, and I had to practice before we came on dumbassery. So, and I just love this, like because when I saw the book title back, like when you started launched it, I was like, oh my God, he's crazy. What is happening? Because dumbass can be like, it's not the same word, like, it's not the same meaning everywhere. But because I am like I am, I knew that this was not a reference to that you are stupid or you are like that everybody can be a leader because that is tricky. And you sent me like you have there is a reference to something else. So can you go a little bit
Yeah.
through that so people
Yeah.
can understand that they are you are not talking about them as they are stupid or something.
No. And I'm not, and in the US, the word ASS could mean something else, and it
Yes.
doesn't, it does not mean someone's bottom or posterior either. So, you know, people may wonder why my book is called Any Dumbass Can Do It. So let's clear it up a little bit. Yes, we have the phrase in the US, but where I'm from, sunny Australia, dumbass is usually referring to a donkey.
Yep.
Now, donkeys get a bad rap. People think they are just stubborn and slow. But here is the truth that I'll share with you. Donkeys are steady. They'll keep going long after others give up. They're loyal companions. You can count on them when they're on when the road gets tough. They're practical but not flashy. They know how to conserve energy and how to get the job done. And while they might not always be uh, rushing into things, that caution often keeps them safe. So when I say any dumbass can do it, what do I really mean? You don't have to be brilliant to be a great leader. You just need a bit of courage, a lot of care, and humility to keep learning because, like the donkey, leadership isn't about showing off, it's about carrying the load, sticking with the journey, and helping others get to where they need to go.
And that is the beautiful thing because it is just resilience. Keep on doing what you're doing. Have a belief. Like they, I think the general consensus of a donkey is that it's it's not as beautiful as a horse. It's not as like, but it is a working animal. Like it's just you can rely on the monkey, and they no monkey donkey. Well, here we go. Like now, I have started. So and they are like people in the Asia, like in the country, like they use them for climbing up the mountains and stuff. So they are strong, and they know why they are going to use them. So that is a good thing. But one particular thing maybe is with a donkey is that it's stubborn. Are you stubborn? Are you like, do you have to be stubborn? So, did you, when you were leader, like, because if, let's say, you talked about this book as your legacy. So, were you a stubborn? guy who said like, I know what I'm doing, listen to me, or did you like how did people, your employees, perceive this idea that your vision for WD-40?
Well, no, I wasn't stubborn, but I was focused and committed and consistent, which I think is important. A great um, algorithm for culture is culture equals values plus behavior times consistency. And when I used to introduce myself, I'd say, "G'day, I'm Garry Ridge. I'm the consciously incompetent, probably wrong, and roughly right chairman and CEO of WD-40 Company, and I need all the help I can get." And in the book, I talk about the three most powerful words, which are "I don't know." And that's one of the keys of building a great culture. A lot of leaders, and you would have read about this person in the book. This is Alec, the soul sucking CEO of Fear Incorporated, and he has, or she, it could be Alice too. Let's not
Yeah, yeah.
forget, it could be Alice as well. And this person has leadership behavior that creates toxic cultures. They have a big ego. Their ego eats their empathy instead of their empathy eating their ego. They're a micromanager. They want to have their fingers in everything. They think they're corporate royalty. You won't
Yeah.
find them in the stinky locker room with the team. They'll have their coffee brought to their office if you can get through the door, which is normally locked. They love a fear based culture. They're a master of control. They're a know it all. They think they have all the answers. And guess what? They do, even the wrong ones. They don't value learning. They must always be right. They hate feedback. And they don't normally keep to their commitments. So I think that if you're going to be in a situation where you're going to lead with servant leadership, it's a little different. Servant leaders love and involve their people. They're always in servant leadership mode. They're expected to be competent. They're always learning. They are connected with emotional intelligence. They do spend time in that stinky locker room. They love learning moments. And as you know, we threw the word failure out in the organization. We said we don't make mistakes, we have learning moments. They're champions of hope. They know micromanagement is not scalable. They do what they say they're going to do, and they treasure the gift of feedback. So there's quite a difference between the two. And I think that's something that's really important because at the end of the day, people in organizations want to know a few things. They want to know and feel like they belong. They want to know and be able to see that the work they do makes a difference and that they matter. They don't want to be managed, they want to be coached. They want to be coached so they learn more and can become better players. And they want to have a high degree of psychological safety. So instead of failure, they have this learning culture, which is really important.
But how is it now? I'm thinking like the servant leadership. Did it catch on, or did it just became? Did it become something and then just go away, or how? Because it means that you're giving power to the floor. You are giving a power to people to if if problems rise, then you can solve them instantly, and if you do it not accordingly, then you are not reprimanded, but you solve the problem. But then we discuss it. Was it right or was it wrong? So why did it catch on or did it not catch on, or is it just periodically like
No,
you
it
know?
definitely caught on. And the one thing that's important is that to empower people, you have to give them a safe zone to play in. And that's why in an organization, having a clearly defined hierarchical set of values protect people and set them free. Now, we had a set of values, and WD-40 still has these values, that my dream was wherever you were in the world, whatever the time of the day, you could make any decision you needed to make, no matter who you were, as long as you used our values to guide you through that decision making process. That was the dream, because the sun was never going to set on the blue and yellow can ever again. Somewhere in the world, the sun would be shining on that can. And I didn't
Yeah.
want people to have to wait until the sun rose in San Diego to be able to call someone and quack up the hierarchy to find the, you know, the king toxic leader who was going to have all the control and give them permission when they didn't need to. I didn't want that friction. I wanted flow in the organization. So that's why we did it.
So that brings me to the next question. When you started in 1994 and when you took over as a CEO, how how did you find the toxic leaders? Or were they gone? Or like, is it a valid question?
Well, we really didn't have a bad culture.
Oh, yeah,
What we had was a culture that wasn't going to take us to the future. It
yeah.
was very insular. And, in the book, I talk about, the thing that really changed my leadership thinking. It was 1998 or 1999. I'd been CEO for 2 years. I was on a Qantas 747 flying from Los Angeles to Sydney, 38,000 feet above the South Pacific Ocean at 2 a.m. in the morning. And as you do when you travel, you take things to read. And I read a quote that was attributed to the Dalai Lama, and it was, "Our purpose in life is to make people happy. If you can't make them happy, at least don't hurt them." And I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if you had an organization where you could make people happy? Now, to me, happiness was not, singing joy, joy, joy. Happiness was having a place where people they belonged, and they felt fulfilled, and they felt whole as a person. And then I read something else from Aristotle, who was born in 384 BC, and it said, "Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work." And I thought, well, duh, of course. If
Yeah,
if you
yeah, yeah.
enjoy what you're doing, you're going to do it better. So these two things are swelling in my head, and I'm still wondering, how do you do that in an organization? And I got back to San Diego, and I was reading a article in the local newspaper that talked about a master's degree at the University of San Diego that was architected by Dr. Ken Blanchard, the guru of servant leadership, and the business school at USD. So I went to a information session, and I heard Ken speak, and Ken said, most MBA programs get people in the head. We got to start getting people in the heart. And here's how we're going to teach that over the 2 years of the master's program. And I said, right, I got to do this. So now I am already CEO of a US public company, but I went back to school. And for the next 2 years, under the tutelage of Dr. Ken Blanchard and others, I learned the aspects of servant leadership and started to actually execute that in the organization. And in fact, I love this program so much. Over the next 25 years, I sent 30 people through that program. So by the time I left the company, we had a plus or minus 30 people with master's degrees in executive leadership based on the theory of servant leadership. So we were embedding this in the organization. And in fact, I ended up teaching in the program for 16 years. I was an adjunct professor at USD, University of San Diego, and I, with my co-teacher, taught a class on culture, on how to build great cultures in organizations.
That is when you talk about it, that is the beauty of it, that you really embrace people and you see people have something and you want to. It's just like my son. I have twins, and my son, he is working in a like this warehouse hotel or a company that has everything, and they ship it all over Iceland. And they are very like they like him. They literally love him because he is so perfect. Like he never make mistakes, or it sounds like he never make mistakes. But they are well aware of that he has to move and go somewhere else to evolve. And how do you do? You have to. So this is a beautiful thing that you have offered or people have had the chance to, because that is not given thing in the US, is it? Like that you can things costs in the US.
Well, I think you can. That's why I
Yeah.
wrote the book. I mean, I think if you understand the principles, there are four pillars that you need to think about. Care. We love and care our people enough, not only to reward them and applaud them for doing great work, but we were brave enough to redirect them when we need to if they're not, getting an A. I wrote another book with Ken Blanchard called Helping People Win at Work, and the byline was, I'm not here to mark your paper, I'm here to help you get an A. So have we been clear with the people that we have the privilege to lead? What does an A look like? And then you have to have candor in an organization. No lying, no faking, no hiding. I believe most people don't lie in organizations. I believe they fake and they hide. And the reason they fake and hide is because of fear. And then you've got to have accountability. Are we clear of what we expect from each other? And then you have to be a place where responsibility is not just a word, it's acted on. Are we, responsibility equals accountability and ownership. Are we owning the outcome that we want to have? So that's why I wrote the book. I think it's an embarrassment that globally about 70% of people go to work every day and they're disengaged or actively disengaged. That's horrible. And it's
Yes.
leadership like this that's causing it. So we can do a better job. And I think we owe the world that better job.
And that brings me also to, like, when you're talking about grades and everything, are we too much fixated on grades? Because sometimes when you are hiring and like I went to the MBAs and people were just like, oh, why didn't I get A plus? I should have gotten this. And I was just like, how can you get an A plus in like you are in a master's degree? Like like the grades inflation, everybody has to have the top mark, but you can be that boring, you can be an introvert, and like how do you know, and where do you, like when you are hiring people, when you come to think about the grades, you can have A's, but you have to have some substance behind it. It's not only to be good at writing or reading, or how is the personality coming through. Like when you were hiring people, what did you think? Like, did you look more at the, I know that you did not look at the grades and the academia, but like you talked to the people and you probably got like, oh, I could get a good vibe from this because it
We
is often.
we firstly, let me clarify a couple of things. Number one is an A is what you agree an A looks like. So anybody in the organization actually sets their own A. So
Yeah,
if you're
yeah, yeah,
working, it's not, you don't have to be the academic scholar. I mean, it's the what I mean, what we mean by that is, are we clear
yeah,
about what we expect from each other? So if you're working in the supply chain, an A might be 98% of our orders are sent to our customers on time in full. That's your A. And that's what we would work towards. Or if you're in customer service, it might be that, X percentage of customer service incoming calls are answered within, X period of time. If you're in accounting, it may mean your A is your quarter end financial statements will be completed with accuracy within X number of days at the end of the quarter. So you set your A's. The other thing is we first looked at values. So if you were to go, when I was at the company, to our career page on our web page, the first thing that hits you is these are our values at the company. And if you can't align with these values, don't even bother calling us, because you will not fit in. You will not feel comfortable. You will not feel like you're part of the tribe, because this is the way things are done around here. So we were very, very, focused on the on employing people who were comfortable being in an environment where accountability was clear. They were treated like they belong, because we had a system of identifying the accountability. They could clearly see that the work they do made a difference and they mattered, and that they wanted to be coached, not managed. Now, we took the word manager out of our system. We didn't have
Yeah.
managers, we had coaches. Now, if you think about it, when you come to the first day of work, do you want to be greeted by someone and say, "Good morning, I'm your manager"? Or would you prefer to be greeted by someone and saying, "Good morning, I'm your coach. I'm here because I think I know how to win the game, and my job is to help you win. I know the game. I'll tell you what's going to happen here. I'm not going to run onto the soccer field and steal the ball from you. I am not going to go to the podium and take the prize away from you. I'm going to be observing your play, and I'm going to be here to help you improve the way you kick that ball. And I'm never gonna, and I'm gonna spend a lot of time with you in the stinky locker room, because that's where we build trust amongst us and the team." So a great coach is not a micromanager like this person is.
Uh-huh. My good friend David Pushkin in the UK, he writes, empathy, emotional intelligence, and belonging are so important to foster good culture. So, and it is also like, isn't it about give that trust? You have to let go of something, because that is also the hardest part. Like as you as a CEO, they expect you to meet the numbers each year and get them maybe higher the next year or whatnot. Because as Milton Friedman said, business of business is business, where you are like you are talking about totally like business of business is supporting community and take part in everything around you and be give back. So what was it like when it is imperative because you are unique?
Well, I'll be simple, and I'll go back to, if you take care of your people,
Yeah.
they will take care of your customers, and your customers will take care of your shareholders. You and I could probably write a very good strategic plan. We've
Yeah.
just formed a company. You and I are partners. We have a product or a service to sell. So we write a strategic plan. Okay. Identify the end user market, identify the course to the path to distribution, how we're going to make the end user aware, how we're going to make it easy to buy, all of that stuff. We take that strategic plan over to some smart professor at a university. They say, "Congratulations, guys, 70 out of 100 for your strategic plan." But if only 30% of your people go to work every day
Hmm.
and are enthusiastically executing passionately that plan, 30 times 70 is a number. But if 80% or 90% of your people go to work every day and are passionately executing against that plan, 80 times 70 is a much bigger number. So, one of the things that I think leaders get wrong is they're all about a great strategy and not spending enough time on building the will of the people, because it's the will of the people times strategy equals outcome.
But what do you think is the like we have since Henry Ford and his factory of making cars and 40 hours per week and whatnot, and then we have the computers who were supposed to save us, and they were supposed to save time and effort. And then you say, why? Like there are so many people are they are not engaged in their work. They are experiencing burnout, even though like some people are like people that say, "Oh, burnout that is just a laziness," or like they are so hard when it comes to burnout. But why is it that are is it a torture at the workplace, or is it too much information? Is it too much? Because we can discuss the meetings. When I was working for the Reykjavik Council, I felt sometimes I was just in a meeting just to be in a meeting. And I didn't even know why I was in the meeting. And when I addressed it, it was just like, because you have to. because that is information. And did I ever use that information? No. so, so it's just, why is it that we have all of these opportunities and still we are just,
So now in my daily life, I do a few things. And one of the things I do is I coach CEOs. I'm a culture coach. And I coach CEOs of large public companies and large private companies and smaller private companies and smaller public companies. And one of the things that has become very clear to me is most leaders are not aware of how their behavior is negatively impacting those in the organization. So the first part of my coaching practice is we go through a process of identifying how many of these behaviors do you actually have? And we then go and ask the stakeholders, the people around that leader, to tell us how many of these behaviors does this person really have? And when you put the two together, it's the stakeholders who are telling the truth. And when I go to the people that I coach and I say, one of the challenges you have is you're not a very good listener. Oh, I am a good listener. I'm always listening. I said, no, you're not. They are telling the truth.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so we then identify what do we want to change in our leadership behavior over a period of time, and that's done through intention and an awareness. And as we go through that, the leader changes and their behavior changes. And suddenly the people around them notice that and they feel more engaged and they feel, do you think someone who goes into a meeting where the leader is the first one to speak and laying down the law ever thinks that their point of view matters? No. Shut up.
Yeah.
Don't speak. Let the people tell you the issues and the solutions. You're not the smartest person in the room. Shut up.
You are the guiding light. You are not the like you are not on the floor. You are not selling the product. Like that is not your like. But it is interesting to hear that you have been teaching your people. I gather that it's still your people because you are so embedded into WD-40. Like it's just like unbelievable. Have you like okay? You have been for 37 or 35 years in WD-40, most of your work life, and how is it a commonality that people stay that long in WD-40, or the people, have they left? And do you know of a success stories where they have taken the culture which you established and implemented it into another company, or like,
Yes. The tenure at the company is long, but then again, we have six times the amount, or WD-40 has six times the amount of employees now that it had when I first started as CEO. So the company has grown substantially. So that's really important. And it's not for everybody. Yeah, we've had people leave the company and um, we've had people leave the company and take their learning and use it elsewhere. We've had other companies come and study us because they want 98% of their people to say they love to tell people they work at the company. That's the statistic. That's the data. We measured that every year. We had a 93% employee engagement. 97% of our employees globally said they respect and trust their coach. Now, their coach in other people's organizations would be their manager and their boss.
yeah.
Most people leave their organizations because they hate their boss. So when we asked, why do you trust and respect your coach? And they said, because the coach is here to help me win. Oh, duh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is so brilliant. Yes, and it's
It's
so
simple.
simple.
It's so
Yes.
simple. It's simple. It's simple. It's simple. It's not easy.
Oh, yeah.
And time is not your friend. That's why I talk about the donkey, right? The donkey is always steadily going down the path. You've got to consistently execute this every day. You've got to get it embedded in your behaviors in the organization. When I was a young boy back in Australia, I was in high school and my science teacher gave me a petri dish. And the science teacher said, "We are going to grow culture in this petri dish." And the science teacher said, "There are two things that will help you be successful in growing culture in this petri dish. One is the ingredients that we put in the petri dish to grow the culture. The second thing is how you treat the petri dish. Your role as the owner of the petri dish is to continually feed the good ingredients so they flourish and grow, and to attack the toxins as they enter the petri dish." Most people and leaders in organizations don't do that. They're not spending enough time feeding the good and feeding and showing people they belong and matter. And when a toxin gets in there, they protect their own comfort zone instead of attacking the toxins. And I'll tell you, once that toxin gets in there, it eats the culture like that.
Yeah.
So that's why culture equals values plus behavior times consistency. You have to do it day after day
Yeah,
after day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a friend of mine who owns a chain of Ashley furniture stores in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he said to me one day, "Culture is not a microwavable event. It takes a crock pot approach," and that is so true.
Yeah. And also, there was something I saw on internet where you talk to flower. Like the main issue is that to grow, in order to grow flowers or plants, you have to talk to them and you have to nurture them. And then the other picture was, so why do you shout at your employers?
Yeah,
Why don't
exactly.
you give them what they have? But because I posted or put underneath when you were talking, like, and David, he says, trust is key and power, and create sick, oh, psychological safety as a leader. The command and control structures are obsolete. Heart-centered leadership is the way, and that brings me to like, and that is true because I think that we are way beyond this shouting and whenever you hear the leader or the manager coming in and everybody's shoulders they just like go up to your ears and in what mood is he today and stuff like that. That is just not it. But you have to trust people. So this book, because you it's a legendary, like it's just your legacy. So why is it that and I really love this quote, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Because why is it that you should give your time to something that you don't like, but you can't go because others are independent of you? And what happens then? Then you get into burnout, and then you don't have money, like because of the situation, and like it's so many things, and it's just unbelievable how the book is just it's humorous. I laughed several times because I like your humor is excellent, and still it's serious because you think about this stuff. You think about your workplaces where you have been and how you would become. So that's why I highly recommend it because it's just
Yeah.
brilliant. Uh, can you
You know,
remind me? Of, yeah, sorry.
I can guarantee you something else is organizations that have bad cultures have the highest cost of employment
Yeah,
because you can pay people to hate you,
yeah.
and then you have turnover, so the cost of turnover is high. So I that's the other side of it, that if you've got a culture that is not a place people want to escape to, not a place people want to escape from, then I guarantee you your cost of employment, your retention are all, not favorable to your profitability.
And it is. They have scientifically proven that happy people, happiness at work or well-being at work increases productivity.
Ah, Aristotle was right. Pleasure in the job puts
Yay!
puts the, oh.
Yes,
Aristotle. Thank you.
yes. So he was really good. But
Yeah.
remind me, because you say around the book, you say the letter from your devoted father. How one letter from a devoted father inspired you thinking around the legacy of positive, lasting memories. Can you remind me about that, or did we talk about it before?
No, we didn't. But the letter you're referring to was a letter I got, and you get these letters sometimes, and it starts off, "You won't remember me." Um, and it was a father. I had been speaking at a conference, and I was talking about, if you're not happy in the work you're doing, you're not doing your best work, find a place to be happy, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, and we talked about the purpose of WD-40, and the purpose of WD-40 is not to lubricate or stop squeaks, it's to create positive, lasting memories. That was our purpose. And this father wrote me a note one day saying that he'd been in a hardware store with his daughter, and they'd bought a can of WD-40. And on the way home in the car, the daughter says, "What is this stuff, Dad?" And he said, it's something that will create a memory. And the memory was that they were going home um, to lubricate and clean the daughter's bicycle. So there was the daughter and the father with a can of WD-40 fixing the bicycle. And to him, that was creating that memory that they'll never forget, because when they spray that can again and smell that wonderful smell, it'll remind him of the time that he and his daughter were together doing something that was important to her and memorable to him.
Yeah, or maybe from the time when he was doing it, the same thing with his father. Like
Yeah.
it's just ongoing stuff. So it's just like it's a beautiful story. And how, but do companies use this? Like, did you use this as a reference, or did you like go to your people and say,
Yeah.
this is what it's all about?
Yeah, our purpose statement, every company has to have a purpose. And our purpose statement was, we exist to create positive, lasting memories, solving problems in factories, homes, and workshops around the world. We solve problems and we create opportunities. That was our purpose statement. So if you asked me or anyone in the company what business we're in, we would say straight up, we're in the memories business.
Yeah, yeah, it's brilliant. So I think that when you speak, like it all came back to me, and I thought like this is brilliant. This is just beautiful. It's just so, and and who would associate like oil or like a spray blue and yellow can with a red top on, like, and that would be the memory.
Yeah.
So, but before, like, time flies when you're having fun, Gabby, and we only have maybe 10 minutes, but I have often spoken, like in my sessions, I have spoken to people because we are talking about leaders, and it's, and the mission is not to put them down. It's more, how can we elevate them? How can we give them this? It's okay to take chances, to take risks. Because in my mind, and I think that I taught my kids, or me and my wife, we talk to our kids that it's okay if you fail, because then you know what to do next time. Mistakes are to learn from them. So, like, because you said that, oh, we took failures out of the equation, but and if you own it, the accountability of stuff, how is it that we can, because there are no schools that teach you how to be a leader, is there?
Well, no, and that's a shame in that
Yes.
people are put in positions of leading people and they haven't, that's one of the things we did at WD-40. We created what we called the leadership lab, and
Yeah.
we had a full curriculum of training around the attributes and skills of being a great leader, and everybody had the opportunity to go through that. But you talk about mistakes. That's why we called it the learning moment. And the definition of a learning moment is a positive or negative outcome of any situation that needs to be openly and freely shared to benefit all people. So if you've learned something that's positive, amplify it so everybody can benefit from it. If you've learned something that, you had a project, an objective, and you didn't meet the objective, and in doing that, you learned something, because you're completely right. Every learning is a step to success. And I'll give you something that proves that. And it's the story of WD-40. Back in 1953 in San Diego, California, there was a fledgling company called Rocket Chemical Company. Rocket Chemical Company was in the business of manufacturing chemical solutions for the aviation and space program. There was a problem with condensation and corrosion in the umbilical cord of the Atlas space rocket. They went out to industry and said, could someone solve this problem for us? So the chemists at Rocket Chemical Company started to work on formulations. Formula One didn't work. There was a learning moment. Formula Two didn't work. A learning moment. 15 didn't work. 25 didn't work. 32 didn't work. You know where I'm going?
Yeah.
39 didn't work. But 40 did work, and 40 worked because of all the other 39 learning moments. And that's how WD-40 was born. Water displacer, WD, 40th formula. It had 39 learning moments to get there.
This is just amazing. Is this the story of like
Yes.
how it all started?
Yes.
How when you start like when you met these people, hopefully you met them. What
No,
did
I
you say
didn't.
to them? Oh, were
I didn't
they
meet.
gone?
Yeah, this was 53. I didn't join the company till 87. So the company's
Uh,
75 years old.
yeah, but so they were not around, or like did they just? That would have been. How many times have you thought like, oh, I had like, if only I had met them, and then
I
what
know.
was went through their minds?
And the formula is a secret formula. It's never been disclosed. It's like Coca-Cola.
Yeah, yeah.
It's locked in a vault. WD-40 make the secret concentrate, the secret sauce for the product, and then they ship it out to contract packages all around the world, who then put it in the blue and yellow can with a little red top, and we send it out to our customers and end users.
So you were not the most important person at WD-40.
Never.
The person who was like guarding the formula. He must have been. This is
Well,
unbelievable.
I, you know, for our 50th birthday, I got dressed in a suit of armor, and I took the formula to New York, and I rode a horse into Times Square at 9 o'clock in the morning with the formula in my hand to open the NASDAQ stock exchange, because I was guarding the formula. And so we opened the NASDAQ stock exchange, and I had the formula in a secret box, and that was a lot of fun. But I actually have ridden a horse into Times Square at 9 a.m. in the morning in a suit of armor.
Show me another. Like I think only an Aussie would do that. This is brilliant.
You
But
can find a picture on the you can find a picture of it on the internet. Go search, and you'll find the picture.
yeah, but how is because now we have to wrap up. But your in your mind, the biggest success, or what was it that you? What is your highlight when you think back of all those years as WD-40? What is it? There must be something that you was there as a pivotal point in your working, or like what was it that you made like, oh God, did it, we are here, or now I am at the top.
So I can tell you a specific time. It was January 2021. We were a year into COVID. There were no clear sign. Was it 2021 or 2020? I can't remember now.
It was 2020 when it started, but
Okay,
2021 was like,
yeah.
yeah,
So January 2021. There was no sign yet that we actually had our arms around knowing what this thing was or the vaccine or whatever. We'd been working since the previous March. We'd gone totally virtual, but we were always continually, working on ensuring that our culture and our connection was okay. I went to our people and I said, look, I want us to just go and do a pulse survey and just check that we aren't draining cultural equity. So we went out and we did a pulse survey. And the numbers came back and they were all pretty similar to the ones we'd done just before COVID start, very high. There was um, one question where the score actually went up. And the question is, I feel excited about my place in the company's future. And it was at 97% of our people globally said they did. And I said, that number can't be right. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. The world
Yeah.
is upside down. Go check the number. They went and checked the number. They came back. It was right. I said, okay, I got to know why. So we went out and asked why. And people came back and said, I feel safe.
Yeah.
And that to me was when I said, this is real. We've done it. And we were living our tribal promise, which was a group of people that come together to protect and feed each other. We were living that, and people felt safe. So, okay, that's it. I can leave now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and that is also you believe in the people, and you will go whatever to whatever length for your people. So
That's
this
the
has been
donkey. Remember,
yes,
that's the
yes,
donkey.
yes.
You
So
need courage, a lot of care, humility to keep learning because the donkey is about not showing off, but going up that mountain.
yeah, I just people just go and buy this book or listen to this book, and it's just brilliant, and it will you will laugh and you will also think a little bit. So it's just like brilliant, and I can't thank you enough, Gary, because it's not like your time. You are just. I think you are. I was so like, ooh, I got him to talk to me, but I was unlucky because when you were in Iceland,
Uh,
it's like if we would have met, that would be
yes,
like. Uh,
maybe another time. I know my wife would love to go back there. We can go
well,
and sit in that beautiful hot pool again and enjoy
oh, that's yeah, the
enjoy the
swimming
northern
pools and
lights.
everything. That is just the
Yeah,
basic, like
yeah,
and swim a little bit and then in the hot tub and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But now underneath us there is this. Your website is thelearningmoment.net. There they find interesting stuff. And the next thing is that people can find you on LinkedIn, or do they go through the like? It is okay to seek you out
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
and and
as you know, I post on LinkedIn a couple of times a week. I have the School of Dumbassery on LinkedIn if you want to join the school. And if you go to my website, on the top banner, there's a connection. You can actually do the quiz. You can do the dumbass quiz and you can measure your dumbass competency. And
yeah,
after you take the quiz, I will actually send you a playbook of some of the things that you can start thinking about to build great cultures in your organization.
very brilliant. And the community on LinkedIn is just like so much fun because you
Yeah.
and it's weird to say like, oh, Mr. Dumbass, can I talk to you? Yes. But thank you like from the bottom of my heart because this is just unbelievable to get you, and I know that you're busy as like they say that when you quit your job then you don't have any time.
Well, I'm not busy. I just have worthwhile work to do. I don't like the word
Yes.
busy, but I'm
Well,
want to I want to thank you because it's people like you who help us amplify this message that's really important. So I am extremely grateful for what you do, and I thank you so much for bringing me into Iceland or wherever else we were today because it's a real privilege. So thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. And I just want to finish off that the next week we will have a Scottish person on the call, and that will be Chris Marr, and we will be talking about the authority reframing, how to lead without people pleasing and or pretending to be someone you are not. Very compatible to what we have been talking about today. And as always, I want to tell people to be curious, be interested, and be inspired. And just have a great weekend wherever you are. And Gary, again, thank you, thank you, thank you.